name is Kate and I'm your host for this evening. So you're watching Qcafe, your favorite online tambayan. I'm so excited for this evening because I will be introducing to you a special guest who will be talking to us a lot about the laws here in the Philippines. And tonight's topic is really interesting. And I really hope that this will bring value to you, our listeners, because especially our topic for this evening is about legal separation, annulment, and divorce here in the Philippines. So let me introduce to you our guest. Our guest for today is a legal practitioner with 27 years of experience in court litigation. He is a graduate of the San Beda College of Law, Menjola, batch 1993. He was a former associate lawyer of the Sumdad Reyes and Acacio, Linsangan and Linsangan Law Offices, and Justice Roberto A. Abad and Associates. He was also a former partner of the Creencia, Carillo, and Baldovino law offices. He is currently a director of several companies, including Sincera Pharmaceutical Corporation and Travelers Insurance and Surety Corporation. He is also currently the chairman and president of the Lukban Telephone System Incorporated. And finally, he has been the co-host of the television show America at Iba Pa, that run on Philippine television for almost 12 years, from 1998 to 2010. Our dear guest for tonight, Attorney Normandi D. Baldovino Jr. Hi, Attorney June!
Hi, Kate.
Hi, good
Good
evening.
evening.
How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. Let me just make some adjustment with my camera.
Sure po, no problem.
Okay. Good.
Ayan.
Ayan. Para
Attorney,
mas
Attorney, may I ask how are attorneys right now during the pandemic?
well, it's a little bit difficult, no? Especially when the start with the pandemic. Sometime in June, July, we were already required to attend court hearings, and
Oh,
it's really a little bit scary.
opo.
Should we say scary? And because we were required to personally attend court hearings. Then later, the Supreme Court realized that it's really dangerous for lawyers and judges to attend, to conduct court hearings in person. So they decided to allow online hearings. Online hearings.
Wow.
Hopefully, this will continue, and that the court will allow us to attend court hearings online rather than in person hearing.
Oh, that's very good to hear because I've been seeing a lot of videos online of court hearings on other countries. So I've always been curious, paano sa Pilipinas? How are we conducting all this right now, 'di ba? And that's a really good insight po.
Actually, it is a new procedure for us. It's a little bit difficult at first because we have to use the Supreme Court is using a Microsoft platform for the court hearing.
Yeah.
So we really have to make some adjustment, especially for the older lawyers, no? Who are not really that familiar with the internet, use of the internet.
Opo. Well, yes. Grabe talaga yung adjustment nowadays. The most famous line since 2020 was, "Can you hear me? Is my signal
Yes, yes.
okay?"
That's correct. Actually, there are times na the witness couldn't hear you because you didn't realize that your mic is off.
Yes.
Then somehow we have problems with the internet.
Opo.
Just actually, I was lucky today because last yesterday and
Mhm.
this morning I do not have any internet.
Oh, okay. Wow, at least bumalik siya in the
Yes, oo nga.
show.
Akala ko nga magse-cellphone ang gagamitin ko.
I see. All right, so attorney, I won't keep you na. Let's proceed to your discussion because we're really excited to know more about what the Philippine law is telling us about annulment, legal separation, and of course, divorce. So the
Okay.
floor is yours, attorney.
Thank you, Kate. Now, tonight I'm tasked to make some lecture about the laws here in the Philippines regarding annulment, legal separation, and divorce. Okay. Now, before we start, let me give you a basic requirements of marriage, for us to be able to, in details, discuss the grounds for annulment. Now, basic naman no, na in order for you to have a valid marriage here in the Philippines, you must be at least 18 years of age. And the marriage must be between a man and a woman. And that that the person who will conduct the marriage ceremony must be duly authorized by law to solemnize marriage, and that the consent must be freely given in the presence of the solemnizing officer. Now, what are the grounds for legal separation here in the rather annulment here in the Philippines? Well, we have plenty, so I really have to read this now. Again, since the basic requirement is 18 years of age, when you get married, you must be 18 or more. If you are below 18, that would make the marriage void ab initio or void from the beginning. Also, it must be solemnized by a person with authority to solemnize marriage, just like priest, imam, rabbi, judges. No. If the marriage was conducted by somebody who has no authority, then the marriage shall also be considered as void. Except, except when either or both parties believing in good faith that the person before whom they expressed their desire to get married, who said yes, they believe that the solemnizing officer has the authority to do so. So kung naniniwala ka na yung talagang pari sa harap mo ay pari talaga, even though hindi, then that would make the marriage valid. Now also, it is a basic requirement for you to have a valid marriage. You must apply first for a marriage license. No, di ba? Doon sa mga kinasal na, alam naman natin na you have to go to the office of the civil register to apply for a marriage license. Now, if the marriage was done without the necessary marriage license, then that would make the marriage void. Also, a marriage between bigamous or polygamous marriage. Alam naman natin yan na kung if you're married twice, thrice, three times, without first having the first marriage or declared null and void, then that would make the marriage bigamous and void from the beginning, ab initio or void from the beginning. Also, if the part if a party who entered into a marriage uh, made a false uh, believing that person is the other guy. For example, your boyfriend has a twin, and you get married to the other twin. For example, Jose and Paulo. Your boyfriend is Jose, but during the marriage ceremony, it was Paulo who was actually present. Then that would make the marriage also void. Now, also marriages based on if one or both of the contracting parties at the time of the celebration of the marriage is psychologically incapacitated to fulfill his or her marital obligation, uh, obligation like fidelity, uh, to provide support, to live together as husband and wife, then that would make the marriage also void from the beginning. Now, there are marriages that are also void by reason of family relationship. Marriage between an ascendants and descendants are considered void. Marriage between brothers and sisters are also considered void. Uh, Marriage between a relative within the fourth civil degree is also considered void. A fourth civil degree is actually your first cousin. Ano, a second cousin is hindi na. Ano na yan? Valid marriage na yan. No. Now, marriage between a step parent and stepchild, adopting parent and adopted child, surviving spouse of the adopting parent and the adopted child, surviving spouse of the adopted child with the adopting parent, adopted child and the legitimate child of the adopter, adopted children of the same adopter. For example, a couple adopted two children, parang si Angelina Jolie at saka si Brad Pitt. No? Yung mga anak nila, if they get married, that would be considered void here in the Philippines. And the if you get married to a person who killed your spouse, that would make the marriage also void. Now, usually the procedure is that uh, you file a petition for declaration of nullity before the regional trial court where you are residing or your spouse is residing. After filing the petition, a copy of the petition for declaration of nullity or annulment will be served to your spouse. After receiving the summons, the spouse has 15 days to answer. If the summons was not served, the remedy would be to have it published, and so the spouse will have 60 days to answer that. Now, after that, uh, an investigation will be conducted by the public prosecutor to determine collusion, and if the public prosecutor learned that there is no collusion, then he would recommend for the case to continue. However, if the public prosecutor would learn during the investigation that there was collusion between the parties, the spouses, to file an annulment case, then he would recommend for the dismissal. We have to remember that we have no divorce law here in the Philippines. So the court is really cautious not to use the provisions of the family code on annulment of marriage as a substitute for divorce. No, ayaw ng batas niyan. Ayaw ng batas na yung mag-asawa ay mag-agree. Sige, maghiwalay na tayo. Gusto mo, mag-file pa tayo ng annulment eh. Sige, ikaw mag-file, ako gagastos pa. Bawal po yan. Yan po ay mahigpit na ipinagbabawal ng batas. Okay. So, if the public prosecutor recommends for the case to continue, then the trial will continue. The court will set the case for pre-trial, and then the petitioner will be given the opportunity to present his case by presenting his witnesses. Usually po, we present first the petitioner, then the witnesses. If the grounds is psychological incapacity, we also present the psychologist. However, based on this recent case of the Supreme Court declared that it is really not necessary to present anymore a psychologist for purposes of proving psychological incapacity. But personally, ano po, if the facts attending to the case is not that hindi ganon katindi, ika nga, then I think it would be better for lawyers to present a psychologist to assist the judges determine if really the petitioner or the respondent, or both of the petitioner and the respondent in an annulment case, is psychologically incapacitated to fulfill the marital obligation. Now, after presentation of the petitioner, the other party will also be given the opportunity to present its case. We have to remember, in an annulment case, it involves the interest of the state. That is why, even if the other party will not attend, the public prosecutor, yung pong tinatawag natin fiscal, will attend your case on behalf of the Office of the Solicitor General. And they will make a scrutiny of your petition. They will cross-examine your witnesses to determine if indeed you have a ground for the declaration of your marriage annulled. Kung mapatunayan na talagang you have a basis for the annulment, then the court will grant it, and then necessary changes will be made on your marriage contract, wherein your marriage will have an annotation on the side of the marriage contract, which states that pursuant to the decision of the regional trial court, for example, of Manila, branch 11, sample lang po ito, this marriage is hereby declared null and void ab initio, or from the beginning. So that is basically the procedure of the filing of a petition for declaration of nullity of marriage. Now, let's go to legal separation. What are the grounds for legal separation naman? Number one would be, it is enumerated in Article 55 of the Civil Code, which states that the following are the grounds for legal separation: repeated physical violence or grossly abusive conduct directed against the petitioner, a common child, or a child of the petitioner. So yung pong mga physical violence is a ground for legal separation. Physical violence or moral pressure to compel the petitioner to change religious or political affiliation. For example, yung lalaki, ginugulpi niya yung asawa niya. Gusto ko mag-Democrat ka. Tumigil ka na maging Republican. Mag-Democrat ka na. Yan. Tapos sinasaktan niya. That is a ground for legal separation. Attempt of respondent to corrupt, induce the petitioner, a common child or a child of the petitioner, to engage into prostitution or connivance in such corruption or inducement. So, for example, a guy is married to a woman who has a child, and that he is encouraging the child to enter into prostitution. The wife can file a petition for legal separation. Uh, a the spouse of a person is has been convicted of a by final judgment of a crime involving imprisonment of more than 6 years. So, for example, yung husband mo is killed somebody, ano, and the penalty is actually life imprisonment or 30 to 40 years. That is a ground for legal separation. You can file a petition for legal separation. Drug addiction and habitual drunk alcoholism is actually a ground for legal separation. Lesbianism or homosexuality, for example, you married a female married a male uh, a male person. Later na realize niya na itong husband niya ay may boyfriend, ano, nalaman niya na homosexual pala siya. So that the wife can file a petition for uh, legal separation. Contracting by the respondent of a subsequent bigamous marriage, whether in the Philippines or abroad. So pag nag-iasawa nyo, nag-asawa ulit, that is a ground. Without having the first marriage annulled, that is a ground for a legal separation. Sexual infidelity or perversion. So, attempt by the respondent against the life of the petitioner. So, if your spouse attempted to kill you, ano, probably because of the wife's wealth, or probably because he has a relationship with another woman, that is a ground for legal separation. Abandonment of petitioner by respondent without justifiable cause for more than 1 year. So if your spouse abandoned you for more than 1 year, you can already file a petition for legal separation. What what is the difference between uh, annulment and legal separation? Now, in an annulment case, the marriage is basically declared void. That actually nullifies the marriage. So that brings you back to the first situation wherein you are still single. Pag kayo po ay nagpa ng annulment case at ito ay nag-grant, automatically you will become single again. That will entitle you rather to remarry, to remarry. Now, in a legal separation, that only allows you to live separately with your spouse. Aside from that, there is also division of the estate. Usually po, kung sino ang at fault, the share of the spouse at fault, yung may kasalanan, will go to the children. Mapupunta siya doon sa mga anak. Now, that is why it is not a practice here in the Philippines to file a petition for of legal separation. As a practitioner, I always advise my client to proceed already with an annulment case. Kasi po, you may file a petition for legal separation, then later, magpa-file ka naman ng annulment, so doble ang gastos. Practical side of the scenario. Also, if you would not invoke for example, psychological incapacity, it may be waived later. Hindi ka na pwede hindi kasi sinabi mo, siya eh. Hindi mo naman siya sinabi psychological incapacity, sinabi mo lang, homosexual siya, o drug addict lang siya, o ganito. So we always advise our client na to save time, effort, money, we always advise them to, just in case somebody would consult us, we say, well, let's see first if you will be, if you have grounds to file an annulment case. Now, let's go naman to divorce. No? Everybody knows there's no divorce here in the Philippines. However, uh, there are cases that divorce are being recognized here in the Philippines. These are the divorce obtained abroad. Ano? Um, uh, few years ago, the only divorce that is recognized here in the Philippines are those divorce that are filed by the foreigner, a foreigner married to a Filipino, and this foreigner filed a divorce abroad, thereby capacitating him to remarry. Uh, ang logic ng batas natin dito, even though we don't have a divorce, yet we recognize this kind of divorce that was obtained abroad, is that kawawa naman yung kababayan natin, di ba? For example, si Joe married si Juana. And then, ito si Joe, nag-away sila. Joe went to the States, he filed this divorce, and then he remarried again. Ito si Joanna, si Juana rather, he, hindi siya makapagpakasal. Hindi siya makakuha ng, should we say, second life. Because legally, he's still married to Joe, who's having a good time abroad. No? So the law said, under the family code, hindi dapat ganyan. Kawawa naman si Juana. So the the people who formulated the family code decided to allow or recognize divorce here in the Philippines. Now, ang procedure po dyan is ganito. You get a copy of the divorce decree or the decision and the entry of judgment, which shows that the divorce is already final and executory. Then you will file a petition for recognition of foreign judgment of divorce here in the Philippines where your marriage was registered. Okay. Now, you have to prove there that you are a Filipino married to a foreigner and then the foreigner filed a divorce. Then, medyo marami pong dokumento lang na kailangan, no? Because you have to establish, number one, that there is a divorce law abroad. Number two, that there was a petition filed for divorce abroad. Number three, that there was a decision granting the valid divorce and that the decision became final and executory. And then also we have to prove that this decree of divorce was actually registered with the Philippine Consulate. Na, kung ma-prove niyo po yan, ma-prove niyo yan, then the judge of the regional trial court will render a judgment, ano, honoring the decision of the foreign court abroad granting the divorce. And so with that, i-register po yung decision ng court and that would also, that the divorce will be recognized here in the Philippines. So parang single na rin kayo. Para din siya nagpa-annulment. Ano? Now, if you're going to ask me, which is more difficult, based on personal experience, mas mahirap lang kasing i-prove yung loss. Kasi po, in getting the necessary materials for the you have to establish kasi yung batas eh. Now, for example, you have to present a divorce was filed in Hong Kong, ano, where there is, or in China, where the law is written in characters. You have to do extra effort to prove to the court that these characters are this interpretation and that this is certified by our Philippine Consulate abroad. Yung to do that, medyo may hirapan na. Now, in recent decision of the Supreme Court, dati, ano lang po, foreigner, married to a Filipina, the foreigner filed a divorce abroad. Ngayon po, hindi na. Basta may nag-file ng divorce abroad, ano po, who is a foreigner, meaning to say, kahit nung kinasal kayo, pareho kayong Pilipino, pareho kayong Pilipino, at yung husband mo, for example, is naging US citizen na, tapos nag-file siya ng divorce, i-recognize pa rin dito yan. In fact, there's a decision of the Supreme Court wherein yung mismo Pilipino na ang pinayagan na in-recognize. Kasi ang logic nila, nung nag-file naman yung kababayan natin ng divorce, yung husband niyang foreigner, allowed. Or, as a result, it allowed him to remarry. And that is basically the essence of the law, na hindi maagrabyado yung kababayan natin. So, medyo medyo masalimuot yung ating yung procedure for the divorce, a recognition of foreign judgment of divorce, but in reality napakadami po nating kababayan na nag-a-avail nito, no, nag-a-avail, especially for those who got married to Japanese nationals, ano. Ayan. Now, kung meron ho kayong katanungan pa, probably you can just post it, ano, para mabasa natin and matanong natin. And then uh, you can also, by the way, email me, ha, if doon po sa mga hindi who are not joining right now, but later will be able to watch this discussion. You can email me at junb1968@yahoo.com. Ayan. Kate?
All right. Ayan, hold on. Let me just in my there you go. There you go. All right. Hi, attorney. Ayan.
Yes, hi,
Thank
Kate.
you so much. I was listening kasi I actually have I was taking down notes because I have a friend who is actually thinking of undergoing an annulment nga. Kasi what happened with him naman was there was infidelity in the part of the wife. So, okay, I will just proceed with the question, attorney, ha?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So, the question being, since right now, hindi pa sila nag-undergo sa procedure of the annulment or legal separation, whatnot, his concern is it possible to remove his wife from the, limbawa, yung PhilHealth niya, gusto niyang tanggalin as ano yung wife niya doon, what do you call this, beneficiary.
Beneficiary.
Is that
Yes.
possible po?
Now,
Na ganun.
yes, that is possible, no. That is actually, for you to be able to do that, you have to file a petition for legal separation.
Ooh, okay.
If you file a petition for legal separation, that would allow you uh, to distance yourself from your spouse, thus allowing you to exclude him as your beneficiary sa insurance,
Yes, yes.
PhilHealth, no. Even for seamen, di ba?
Oh,
Yung kanilang anong tawag dito? Allotment. I think
allotment.
it's allotment, yeah. Because legally, if you're a seaman, 80% of your salary should go to your family.
Yes.
The legal requirement. Now, kung may nag-file ka ng legal separation, that would allow you to keep 100% of your salary.
Mhm.
Kasi infidel yung spouse mo, di ba?
I
Ikaw
see.
nagtatrabaho ka sa abroad, tapos siya, ang sarap-sarap ng buhay dito. May boyfriend pa.
All right. Okay. So at least now we know, guys, that before you are able to separate yourself from your spouses, you still need to take action, which is nga yung legal separation, in order for you to remove them officially from any insurances or benefits or whatnot that
Pero
you actually have.
Pero Kate, as I have said earlier, if you're
Mhm.
going to be practical about it, the procedure for legal separation is basically the same for
Annulment.
annulment, no?
Yeah.
And the length of time is also the same, more or less 2 years. Hindi ko nabanggit kanina, no? But
Opo.
that is one of the common question, no? Pag may
Mhm.
nag-a-avail ng services natin, attorney, basic question is, paano ba magpa-annul? Pag na-explain mo na sa kanya lahat yung details, etc., kung anong requirement, anong dokumento kailangan mo, ano dapat mong gawin, etc., next question is, attorney, gaano po katagal? Well, actually, that question is subjective siya. Now, if papunta ka sa judge na masipag, masipag magtrabaho, then
Mabilis.
mabilis ang annulment mo. Pero pag napunta ka sa not necessarily sa judge, dun sa court na napakadaming kaso, no? Na hindi na talaga, hindi na kaya ng host na mag-function fully well, then magiging mabagal ang progress ng ano. It's going to be a slow process. It would take some time, 2-3 years to completely finish the annulment process.
I see. Attorney, magkano? Feeling ko usually
Alam
yung
mo, I do not want to make a specific figure about it.
but a
Pero
ballpark idea.
pero it would range, depende kasi sa lawyer 'yan.
Yes.
Ako sa in all honesty, hindi ako mataas mag-charge kasi sa akin ano 'yan eh.
Mhm.
Parang tulong ko na sa mga tao, no, sa mga kliyente na to have a second life. To
Yes.
to to, to be candid with you,
Mhm.
sometimes I'm happy to see my clients, on Facebook having a second family,
Opo.
no? They have their children. Alam mo, natutuwa ako kung minsan ang gaganda ng mga anak nila kasi nag-asawa na sila ng foreigner.
Mhm.
Hindi naman nila tayo nalilimutan, syempre.
Mhm.
Ano, pag nag-like tayo, say hi. Pero nakakatawa because, when they come to you, they really have a miserable life, no? Parang end of the world na. And then after that, ma-realize nila, hindi pala. Meron pala akong I'm entitled to have a good life, a happy life. That's why kahit papaano proud naman tayo na marami tayong natulungan.
Yes. Attorney, we have an attendee here right now on our Zoom call who has a question. She is asking, "Hi attorney, married po ako sa isang Canadian. Nag-ghost po ako after a year, I think, October last year. Married sila ng 2019 tapos no communication na sila since October 2020 until now.
Okay.
Are you in the Philippines? Nasa abroad? Nasa abroad ba yung asawa mo? Saan kayo kinasal? Maybe we would need that detail, no?
Well, siguro yes, definitely we need that detail. Pero if I'm going to assume, yes, I'm in the Philippines, yes. Kaya sinabi yan na ghost siya. Kasi in all probability, ang nangyari sa kanya was that the Canadian came in the Philippines, nakakilala sila, then naging mag-boyfriend, then decide to get married. Then after that, wala na.
Ang hindi na siya.
Wala na. That is
Ah,
actually a ground for annulment. In all
okay.
probability, that is a ground for psychological incapacity.
Mhm.
If it can be proven na, you have to remember, it's a basic obligation of spouses to live together as husband and wife. Mm.
Is there a specific length of living together that merits that your
Wala,
spouse?
wala, wala.
So walang specific.
So, depende yan sa scenario. For example, tulad nito, pinakasalan ka lang, no? After honeymoon, sweetheart, I'll go back to Canada and I'll petition after 2 weeks. Now, 2 years na, wala pa rin.
Mhm.
No? So, that means na talagang he is really no intention to be to honor his responsibility as a
As a,
husband, no? So talagang ano 'yun, malinaw doon na he cannot really fulfill his obligation as a husband to live with the spouse. And that can be proven as a ground for psychological incapacity.
all right. Ayan. So, at I hope that you are able to naliwanagan ka sa sagot ni attorney. Ayun nga ho, bumalik nga daw talaga ng abroad after nilang
Oh, yan.
ikasal.
Huwag ka mag-alala, hindi ka nag-iisa. Maraming ganyan ang senaryo na, na-meet mo. So of course, siyempre, happy ka. May na-meet ka na who is a foreigner.
Mm-mm.
Hindi ko lang alam kung Filipino-Canadian siya o talagang Canadian.
All right. So,
But the remedy would be, I would advise you
Fine.
to file an annulment case so that you will be free from the bondage of the marriage with that Canadian
yeah,
guy.
kasi you won't be able to remarry should you wish to.
Yes.
Kasi,
Mahihirapan kang to recover unless you take legal action.
yes.
Unless you take legal action.
Attorney, we have a question here that asks, is womanizing a ground for annulment? Pambababae? O kaya pamlalaki?
Womanizing is a ground for legal separation. It could also be a ground for annulment. Okay. But womanizing per se is not a ground for annulment.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be. How? If womanizing, if makakategorize yung, for example, yung husband, kung makakategorize siya na the reason he is womanizing is because he is really psychologically incapacitated to fulfill the basic marital obligation, then that would be a ground for annulment. Kaya
Mm.
siya ng bababae kasi naniniwala siya na entitled siya na magkaroon ng maraming asawa o magkaroon ng maraming girlfriend,
Yes.
medyo
Some.
psychologically may psychological problem siya. No?
Alright. We have here another question po that asks, I got my annulment years ago with my daughter staying with me. Can I demand for child support from
Of
my
course. How old is the
I to the legal process?
Okay, let's discuss support. No.
Okay po.
Support is a basic obligation ng parents. Ano?
Okay.
So as long as the child is studying, the parents has the obligation to provide support to the children. Minor, parents has the obligation. Even when the child reaches the age of 18, so adult ka na. But the child is still studying. Still, the parent or parents have the obligation to provide support to their child. Now, if there is a legal separation, legal separation or annulment, usually that matter is being discussed in the case. Humihingi po tayo ng suporta sa asawa nyo. Pag nag-file kayo, kasama yan sa hinihingi. Now, there are instances na hindi hinihingi simply because ayaw nila, they do not want to make the annulment complicated. Kasi magiging komplikado ang annulment pag humingi ka ng support. But still, you can still ask that later. Pero kasi iba, hindi gusto ko lang annul. Now, after the annulment, attorney, paano yung support? You can file another case for support. And by the way, the approach now is, pag hindi ka nagbigay ng support, yung asawa mo, ididemanda ka ng violence against women, violation of yung law on women and children, yung katawag nila bouncy. Yan. Kasi, under the violence against women and children law, if you don't provide support, that is already abuse of wife and children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a crime. So, kaya sa lahat po ng mga nakikinig at manunood dito sa show na ito, I advise you, kung hiwalay kayo sa asawa nyo, you send support. Whatever would be the amount, you send support. At least you will have an argument na, hindi nagpapadala po ako according to your means. Pero yung hindi talaga nagpapadala, you can be held criminally liable for that.
Paano naman po, attorney, kung partners lang sila, hindi sila kinasal, pero may mga anak sila, tas nakapangalan yung bata sa lalaki, tas naghiwalay? Are they, kaya ba nilang habulin yung lalaki for support?
Yes, the obligation to provide support is not dependent upon marriage. No, irrelevant ang marriage diyan. What is relevant is that he is your son or the child is your anak mo talaga yung bata. Pag anak mo, then you have the obligation, 100% you have the obligation to provide support.
Kapag po naman, attorney, paano kung hindi sa'yo pinapakita yung bata kahit na nagbibigay ka ng suporta? Parang pera mo lang yung tinatanggap, pero never mo...
Usually, the remedy now is you have to file for a petition for habeas corpus. No? You file a petition for habeas corpus in court, then the court will direct the spouse na, oy, punta ka nga dito at sa husgado at gusto makita ng asawa mo itong anak mo. Ang iba, gagawa, hindi niya pinapadala yung support para magpakita ka muna sa akin para bigay ko yung support. But that is the legal remedy. You file a petition for habeas corpus in court and usually the judge make the necessary arrangement na ganito lang gawin niya, mag-compromise na lang kayo, pabayaan mo na to si husband, tapos siya naman si husband, bibigyan ng support, etc. Inaayos na ng West yan.
I see. Attorney, is it possible for the surname of the child to be replaced with the surname of the mother instead of the father?
Depende sa scenario, no? Legally, if the child is an illegitimate child, the law provides that the child must use the surname of the mother. However, Senator Revilla passed a law wherein the law says that if the father of an illegitimate child recognizes the child and allows him to use his surname, then he could use the surname of the father. So illegitimate, kahit illegitimate, gusto nung mother na gamitin nung anak niya yung surname ng father niya, at yung father naman ay nire-recognize sa anak niya at willing naman paggamit yung apelido niya, then that could be allowed. However, for example, gustong gamitin ng mother yung surname ng tatay. Pineke niya ngayon yung pirma nun kasi may form yun eh. Parang affidavit that you are allowing your son to or daughter to use the surname of his surname. Pineke mo lang pala, ano? Hindi nagbigay ng consent yung tatay. Then pwedeng baguhin. Pwedeng mabago 'yon.
Attorney, in the case of Julia Barreto and then
Sorry.
Are you familiar?
Sorry hindi.
On the case of what happened, ang question ko po kasi is, this has been circulating for a while kasi. And my question being, nung na-annul po ba, or nung na-null and void yung kasal ni Dennis and then ni Marjorie, naging illegitimate child ba yung mga anak nilang dalawa?
Depende sa grounds. For example, ang grounds mo ay yung minor ka, kinasal ka, o wala ka marriage license,
okay,
or walang authority yung solemnizing officer,
okay,
then that would make the child illegitimate. However, if the ground is psychological incapacity, hindi.
I see, okay.
So, depende yun kung paano na-annul yung kung anong grounds mo for annulment.
Okay. Kasi parang it was circulating na ang dating is kaya nagpetition si Julia Barreto to change her surname and remove the name of her father on her name was because naging illegitimate child daw sila the moment na naging null and void daw yung kasal ng parents niya.
Actually, automatic yun. Pag nag-file ka ng petition for declaration of nullity, ang ground mo, for example, is no marriage license or minor yung spouse, one or both of them are minor, in the decision, it will say that by directed the CB registrar, or for example, the child was born in Quezon City.
Yes.
CB registrar of Quezon City to change the surname of the child from to. Sinasabi na ng huwes yun. No need for them to do anything about it. Now, the fact na hindi sinama, in all probability, hindi yun covered those instances wherein mababago yung status mo from legitimate to illegitimate.
I see. We have a follow-up question here, attorney, that asks, what is the basic, how do we start to file for annulment? Paano po ba yun?
Depende sa grounds. If the ground, for example, is minority, minor, either of both parties are minor, then you have to secure a copy of your birth certificate.
Okay.
To prove that you really are minor when you get married. You get a copy of the marriage contract, you get a copy of the birth certificate, yes. Then you file a petition in court attaching those documents para pagtingin ng judge doon.
Okay, ito siya.
Minor nga pala talaga ito nung kinasal. Okay, now.
Alright.
If the ground is no marriage license, you get a certification from the concerned civil registrar. Kasi usually naman hindi naman magkakasal ng walang nakasulat dun sa marriage contract na marriage license. Usually nakasulat dun marriage license number issued on halimbawa on such date in halimbawa Imos, Cavite. Okay. Sample lang yan. Now later, pag na-realize mo na nag-verify ka, wala pala ang marriage license talaga. So, yun, hingi ka na certification that based on the record of the Imos Civil Register, there is no marriage license issued to both parties under such number. Okay. So, again, you file a petition, you attach the copy of certification and your marriage contract saying, wala hong license yan. Hindi ho totoo yung license na yan.
Naman kapag kagaya ng ating viewer ngayon na grounds niya is na-ghost siya ng kanyang husband na umalis.
Okay.
Paano po ba sisimulan ang annulment?
Ang grounds niyan would be psychological incapacity. Sa tingin ko personally, the grounds would be psychological incapacity. In which case, you can already file a petition, no? Just narrating your, ano, ang documents mo lang na ipipresent ay yung iyong marriage contract, no? Kung nagkaanak kayo, di birth certificate ng anak.
Yeah.
However, to justify really psychological incapacity, I would require her to consult a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Kahit sabihin niya sinasabi ng attorney, bakit si attorney nagre-require pa? Kasi personally po, alam mo yung judges, tao din yan eh. Baka mahirapan siya mag-appreciate ng facts, making it difficult for the judge to come up with the conclusion that the respondent, yung dinimanda, ay psychologically incapacitated. Where in fact, kung mayroon talagang science, mayroong psychologist, psychiatrist, nagsasabi na talagang psychologically incapacitated yon, it would be easier for the judge to appreciate the facts. No? Parang sa kanya, personally, mas madali yan. Now, kung ang grounds ay psychological incapacity, I usually refer the client to a psychologist or psychiatrist. And then from there, magkakandak yun ng study, and then we will wait for the result. Pag lumabas yung result, sinabi doon, ay, psychological incapacity ng respondent, then you file the case in court together with the result of the psychological evaluation to prove na, based on science, the respondent or both of them sometimes are psychologically incapacitated to fulfill the basic marital obligation, which is love, respect, fidelity, and to support each other as husband and wife.
Attorney, going back to children, is it possible that the child from the first marriage na na-adopt will use the surname of the husband on the second marriage? Possible?
Supposed to be. So, for example, A and B. For example, A and B. Ano ha? Si A and B, may anak sila si C.
Mm-hmm.
Namatay si husband si A. So si wife nag-asawa ulit si D. No, si D. Si D ang surname niya is halimbawa ay Reyes. No. Sabi ni wife, D, i-adapt mo na ito, anak ko, para naman maging parang true family tayo. Ano? And also, since lumaki naman talaga sa'yo, i-adapt mo na siya, and then para maging entitled siya sa whatever benefit as a legitimate child. So, in-adapt niya ngayon. Pumayag si D, sige, I'll adopt C. Pag in-adapt niya si C, automatic, that would change the surname ni C. Hindi na surname niya ngayon is yung surname ni A. Magiging surname niya is yung surname ni D, which is Reyes.
But attorney, that is for the husband na namatay. What if yung husband na annul lang sila?
Hindi.
Niyang i-adopt?
Hindi. We have to remember na if the child, if the sorry, ano ulit ngayon yung question mo?
May mag-asawa, nag-annul sila. Tapos yung babae nag-remarry. The question is, yung anak nila dun sa first husband niya, is it possible na i-adopt at ipangalan sa second husband niya?
Yes.
Even though buhay pa yung husband.
Yes.
What is the procedure for this, attorney? Is it gonna be adoption?
Yes, adoption. You can file a petition for adoption in court.
What if po naman yung child was out of wedlock pero pinangalan doon sa nakabuntis pero hindi yun ang napangasawa niya? Pwede pa rin bang ampunin yung bata ng asawa na talaga niya ngayon?
Okay. Now, a child, an illegitimate child, the parental authority rests upon the mother.
Alright.
Okay. So yung mother niya lang ang may control sa kanya. Siya lang ang may authority over the child. Walang pakialam dyan yung tatay other than to provide support.
Kahit po na nakapirma yung tatay sa birth certificate.
Yes. Oo. Now, kung pumirma yung tatay sa birth certificate, posible ha, na magamit ng bata yung surname ng father.
Yes.
Pero, medyo i-move forward natin. Assuming na nangyari ito sa kanila, single sila pareho, nagkaanak sila, pero hindi sila nagkatuluyan. Tapos si mami ng child, ay nagkaroon ng boyfriend, tapos nagkatuluyan sila. No. Now, pwede bang pwede ba niyang i-adopt yung anak ni, ano? Yes, pwede.
Kahit po nakapangalan yun sa tatay.
Yes, pwede. However, based on my own personal experience ko ito ha. Yeah, as I have said, the authority, parental authority rests upon the father, the mother. So
Yes.
actually, walang pakialam si daddy
Kahit
doon.
hindi na po magkaroon ng anything na like kapag kunwari ipinakorte yung adoption, hindi na kailangan
Talagang nagko-court ng adoption. In fact, napakahigpit ng adoption, napakatindi ng requirement, napakatindi ng evaluation kasi nga medyo mabigat ang legal consequences ng adoption. But pwede 'yon kasi nga the authority rests upon the mother. However, usually as a practice, hinihingan pa rin ng dokumento or consent yung father just to show na walang conflict.
ayun.
That's why we usually present an affidavit of consent.
So, paano yon, attorney? The court will still demand for the father to show up. Ganon? Or
Not necessarily. Ano? Not necessarily. Kasi illegitimate yung bata eh. Ibang senaryo pag legitimate ha. Halimbawa, kinasal kayo, tapos nag-anal kayo based on psychological incapacity, so legitimate pa yung bata. If that is legitimate, then the father has parental authority. So you need the consent of the father to make the marriage, to make the adoption valid. But in illegitimate children, hindi. Hindi kailangan ng consent ng father because the parental authority rests upon the mother.
Alright. Attorney, may follow-up question po yung ating viewer.
Sige.
Nasal sila sa Pilipinas, kasal din ba sila sa Canada? Is their marriage valid on Canada?
Well, the general rule is marriage celebrated here or abroad are considered valid. So, ibig sabihin, kung kinasal sila sa Canada, that will be considered valid here in the Philippines. At kapag kinasal sila dito, that is already considered valid abroad. But, do not seek assistance from Canadian government. You have to remember, you're not yet a citizen. Based on sa experience namin, di ba Kate, nabanggit mo kanina, I've been a host of the television show America, di ba pa? In that show, we are discussing about yung mga migration. Yes. And there are people who wants to seek assistance from the embassy. Yun nga, para mga inabando na sila. Sa matter of policy or practice, hindi sila tumutulong sa ganyan scenario. They wouldn't even give information about the whereabouts of the husband. Hindi nila ano yun. Hindi nila mandate yon. Hindi nila mandate. You have to remember that they have to protect the interest of their citizen.
Yes. All right. Attorney, any message to those who intends to file annulment or legal separation? Ano po ang gusto nating sabihin sa kanila?
Number one, if you're intending to file a legal separation, I would suggest you have to rethink about it. Listen to your lawyer because the lawyer will always say, wag-annulment ka na lang. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, I'm not encouraging people to file. As much as possible, I want them to settle their differences amicably and in such a way na sana you will have a good family relationship. However, there are really instances wherein irreconcilable na yung relationship nila. Talagang unfair naman doon sa spouse who is really suffering so much. Not necessarily the female, may mga male din na talaga rin namang So in that cases talaga na if it is really pointless, really irreconcilable for them. Now, you take a legal remedy so that you will have a second chance. If you make an error in the first, hopefully you will have a second chance on the better life on a second opportunity. However, take legal action because that by not taking legal action, that would complicate things for you. 100%, I can guarantee you, mahihirapan ka lalo, gugulo lalo ang buhay mo. Take legal action, once annulled, have another life.
Yes. Wow, thank you so much, attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Narinig yun sa movies, irreconcilable differences. Anyway, so I do hope we earned the privilege of your time tonight, guys. And may mga
Actually, personally, I'm happy. I'm happy to be lecturing right now. With you. With you.
yes, attorney. Kasi alam ko marami sa ating mga kababayan ang hindi nila alam ang mga proseso kung paano ba dapat nila gawin ang mga ganitong bagay. Kasi akala nila once na you get married for life na yon. Nobody gets married naman thinking that they will be separated in any time.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Oh, tama yan. Totoo yan. Totoo yan.
It's really nice that we have this kind of option for those na natatali sa mga ganitong klase ng relasyon, na we have an option to have another life. Ika nga.
Yes. Totoo yan. Totoo yan.
So maraming salamat po sa ating mga viewers on Facebook. Nag-iwan po kami sa comment section ng email address ni Atty.
Yes, just doon sa mga nanood at manonood pa. If you have question, just email me. No, usually pag ano tayo, sinasagot natin yan. It's we're happy to help other people.
Attorney, saan po ba kayo located?
Well, my law office is located in Parañaque. Malapit po ito sa airport. Malapit lang kasi ako dito nakatira sa airport. No? There, several years ago, I decided na sa sobrang traffic, no, masyadong time-consuming ang pumunta sa Makati or sa Ortigas.
Lumipat na lang kayo.
Oo, naghanap ako ng malapit-lapit lang sa house ko pa so that I can, yung travel time mo is na-lessen.
Yes, tama nga naman. It's always the
or practical side para mas maaga kang makauwi.
Yes. Kasi parang, prior to COVID, parang estimated talaga that travel time natin here in the Philippines, 4 hours talaga balikan.
Oh yeah, grabe.
It's a basic travel time adjustment.
In fact, may former partners, the reason we got separated is because they joined the government. But after that, they decided, we're done with government. Let's bolt in again. Sabi ko, where's our office? In Ortigas. Tutulong na lang ako, pero dito pa rin ako sa Parañaque. Parañaque po ako.
Attorney, last pahabol question because of location. Kapag po ba magfa-file, saan po bang dapat na location ipa-file?
If it is an annulment, you have to file it where you are residing or your spouse is residing.
Okay.
So kung halimbawa, si husband ay Quezon City, si wife ay taga halimbawa Bicol, no? May option sila, it's either Quezon City or Bicol. Yeah.
And this goes for adoption as well.
Yes, kung saan resident yung mag-a-adapt.
Okay. Alright, so ayan, I hope na naliwanagan kayo sa mga katanungan ninyo about the topic on legalities, about legal separation, annulment, and yes, divorce is not yet allowed in the Philippines. Ayan, so we do hope that you connect with Atty. Baldovino through his email address. Once again, that's junb1968@yahoo.com. You will find that on the comment section of this live video on Facebook. I do hope that you share this video with your friends who are experiencing troubles like this so that maliwanagan din sila and be able to find new life for them. So once again, my name is Kate and thank you for joining us for tonight's session on Qcafe. We'll see you again next week at 8 p.m. Wednesday nights. Ayan, for another session here in your online favorite tambayan, Core Consulting Incorporated. Maraming salamat po. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye guys.